On the morning of October 12th, 1985, a 27-year-old forestry worker named Evan Rourke zipped up his bright orange field jacket, slung a weather monitor over his shoulder, and told his supervisor, "I'll be back before dinner." He wouldn't be. Evan was part of a small Canadian storm tracking team studying violent wind patterns in the Ghost River Forest, a sprawling pine-choked maze just south of the Yukon border. The job sounded exciting, until you realized the area earned its name honestly. Radios failed there. Compasses spun for no reason. Locals swore the woods made their own weather. That morning, clouds hung unnaturally low, like they were waiting. Evan and his partner hiked deep into the timberline to set up sensors. Around noon, his partner radioed that Evan had gone ahead just a few meters. By 12:03, Evan's signal was gone. No shouts, no footprints, just his thermos, still warm, resting on a log beside a fresh set of boot prints that ended mid-trail, as if the man had been erased between one step and the next. When the rest of the crew arrived an hour later, they found nothing. No body, no torn clothing, not even animal tracks, just that same strange static their radios always carried near the Ghost River Basin. The search team would spend 10 days combing the woods before declaring what everyone already feared. Evan Rourke was gone. Or at least, that's what they thought. Because 30 years later, someone walked out of that same forest wearing Evan's jacket. Before we get into that part, if you're a fan of strange, dark, and occasionally terribly timed oatmeal stories, then please, gift the like button a warm bowl of porridge and whisper, "Stay crunchy, my friend." It gets lonely out there. For the first 48 hours, the Ghost River Forest sounded like a city. Helicopters circling overhead, radios crackling, dogs barking. Every ranger, Mountie, and volunteer in northern Alberta came out to find Evan Rourke. But as the days passed, the noise began to die. By day 4, the helicopters were gone. The dogs refused to go past the timberline, whining and digging their paws into the soil. And every time someone tried to call over the radio, the line filled with this low, pulsing hum, like a heartbeat echoing through static. Searchers started noticing other things, too. The temperature inside the forest dropped nearly 10 degrees colder than outside it. Footprints they swore were fresh would vanish an hour later. One volunteer even claimed he saw a figure moving behind a ridge. Same orange jacket, same build. But when they climbed up, it was gone. No prints, no scent. Just a broken branch, still bending. On day 8, one of the rescue divers found Evan's field camera at the edge of the Ghost River. The film inside had been water damaged, but one frame survived. It showed Evan standing in front of the sensor tower, smiling. And behind him, half blurred by motion and rain, was a second silhouette. Taller. Watching. The photo was logged as an artifact anomaly and locked away, marked confidential by Forestry Canada. The official report simply read, "Subject presumed deceased due to environmental exposure." But the locals who lived near Ghost River didn't buy it. They said at night, if you stood by the tree line long enough, you could still hear a voice, calm, tired, and repeating one sentence. The storm, it was early September 2015, exactly 30 years after Evan Rourke vanished, when Park Ranger Claire Dupont saw something impossible. She was finishing her last patrol near the Ghost River Basin, a quiet, misty stretch where even birds seemed to whisper. Then, through the fog, she noticed movement. At first, she thought it was a bear. The figure was hunched, pale, trudging slowly along the tree line. But as it drew closer, she saw bare feet and an orange jacket, sun-faded but unmistakable. It was the same model issued to the Ghost River storm team in 1985. Claire called out, "Hey, are you okay?" The man didn't answer. He just kept walking until he stood a few feet away, trembling, soaked, his lips blue from the cold. His hair was longer, his beard unkempt, But his face matched the photo pinned to the missing since 1985 board in the ranger station. Evan Rourke. Claire asked where he'd come from. The man blinked slowly, like he hadn't processed English in years, and then whispered just 5 words. The storm. It never ended. And then he collapsed. Paramedics arrived 20 minutes later, but the weirdest part wasn't his hypothermia. It was his condition. Evan's jacket still had his name patch, his ID tag, even a dried-up compass, but no signs of decay. His boots, though caked with fresh mud, were stamped with a manufacture date of 1985, the very week he disappeared. Within hours, the RCMP sealed off the area and transferred Evan to a secure hospital. Reporters were told he was a deranged hiker. Locals knew better, because after that day, the Ghost River woods stopped being just a mystery. They started watching back. Before we head into what happened inside that hospital, please do the like button a favor, hand it a blanket, a mug of cocoa, and whisper, "You made it out, buddy." 6 months after Evan's return, the Ghost River incident was quietly fading from the headlines. Officially, he was under psychiatric care. Unofficially, he was a walking paradox. 30 years missing, no sign of aging, and a pulse that sometimes skipped every 3rd beat. That's when Noah Trent, a graduate student from the University of Calgary, stumbled on something strange. He was cataloging old meteorological footage for his thesis on microclimates when he found a reel canister mislabeled Wind Study, 1985, discarded. Inside was a film strip so brittle it snapped in his hands. But what played before it broke would change everything. The tape opened with shaky footage from one of the original Ghost River storm towers. The sound was warped, like thunder underwater. Then for 2 seconds, a flash of movement. A man steps into frame, waving. He's wearing the same orange jacket, same ID patch. Only the date on the camera slate, clearly visible, reads October 16th, 1985. That's 2 days after Evan vanished. Noah slowed the film down frame by frame. Behind the man, lightning flickered, illuminating something else. A second figure, blurry, standing in the same pose, like a reflection that forgot to mirror. When Noah tried to rewatch it, the footage distorted, the image stretched, sound reversed, and the reel began smoking. By the time the lab technician grabbed it, the tape had melted into itself, like it never wanted to be seen again. The next morning, Noah's apartment door was ajar. His computer, gone, but his notebook was still there, left open on his desk, and scrawled across the page, in shaky handwriting, were 5 words. The storm is still here. Three weeks after Noah Trent's mysterious disappearance, the Ghost River site was officially closed for environmental rehabilitation. In reality, it was fenced off, monitored 24/7, and wiped clean from every public database. Even the coordinates vanished from online maps. But behind those locked gates, a classified report was quietly circulated through the Canadian Environmental Agency, and one paragraph in particular stood out. It read, "Subject Rourke displays temporal disorientation consistent with prolonged exposure to an electromagnetic anomaly. Recommend indefinite isolation." Translation: they believed Evan had been stuck somewhere. The same report described residual atmospheric distortions in the storm basin, shifting barometric readings that repeated every 30 years, like a clock resetting itself. One scientist compared it to a doorway that doesn't know it's open. Then there was the detail no one could explain. Every night, around 3:15 a.m., the hospital's power flickered. Security cameras froze. And when footage resumed, Evan was no longer in his bed. He was standing by the window, eyes open, whispering something no microphone could fully catch. The few words they could make out, You left the door open. Within a month, all official mentions of Evan Rourke were sealed under the National Secrets Act. The hospital wing where he stayed was later demolished, but locals still talk. They say on stormy nights, if you're near the Ghost River Basin, your phone compass will start spinning. And sometimes, through the static, you'll hear a man's voice break through the wind. Calm, distant, and warning, don't let the storm in. If you've enjoyed tonight's story, hand the like button a government file, stamp it top secret, and lock it in your fridge. That's right, the fridge. Nobody checks there.